Welcome back to another episode of the Healing Chamber. This is Layla. Today the topic is Chat GPT prompts for unique wealth signature. This is one of my favorite topics ever because I love it when we can combine AI with cosmic knowledge. I feel like it creates a balance between those two realms. So, obviously, astrology is much more deeper than what I'm going to share today, but hopefully, it's just the basics and it's going to be valuable to you. But yeah, it gets really deep at some point to really read your birth chart because there's a lot of houses and signs and they all mean different things. But at least it gives you like a roadmap to follow. So when it comes to wealth, the second house is the house in our birth chart where we can find the themes of money, stability, anything that's related to wealth, basically to our earthly desires. It's also connected to the root chakra. So this is really the basis of life, because we have to be rooted in order to ascend. And we have to master the physical and the spiritual realm, and we have to find the balance between the two. So when it comes to the second house, what you can ask ChatGPT is, for example, because obviously it depends on what your goal is, but you can ask ChatGPT and say, how can I build $1 million company that is passive and automated with the placement of, and then you insert your second house placement and sign. So your second house zodiac sign and house. This is going to be the placement. If you, obviously, it depends on what your goal is. Once again, if you want to create a big social media platform, you want to look at the 11th house. When it comes to long-term success and, building a sustainable project, you want to work with Saturn. So you want to see where Saturn is located in your birth chart, in which house and which sign. When it comes to anything that is related to, like writing, having a podcast, for example, when you're a singer, so when you use your throat chakra, you use your voice, you want to look at your Mercury placement. So the Mercury placement is the one, once again, that is connected to that. And the reason why I'm mentioning all these different things is that, first of all, it depends on the goal you have. But of course, when you're aligned with your birth chart, this is when you're going to experience abundance and wealth with the path of least resistance. So that's why it's going to feel easy. It's going to feel natural. And a lot of times, even people that are not spiritual, it's so interesting. When I start to dive deep into their chart, I can usually see that especially when they're successful and established, I can see that they're aligned with their chart. But usually it takes them like 10, 20, 30 years before they get successful because they didn't know any hacks. They didn't know that they could use astrology to skip a lot of the struggle. And a lot of times, because we live in a Saturnian society, when you are focused on a task, usually it's super rare that someone worked for like 20 plus years and they're not established and successful because it's just one of the laws that we have here, universal laws. So another way to use your birth chart as well. So if you're a woman specifically, you want to see where your Venus is located. Venus is associated with art, beauty, pleasure. So if you're an artist, of course, if you work in the beauty industry, anything that's related to aesthetics, even if you're like a painter, you want to work with your Venusian energy when it comes to aesthetics. Even with social media, you can look up your Venusian placement to see which aesthetic is more aligned with who you are at a soul level. And of course, you can look up your North Node as well, especially if it's located in the 10th house or the first house. All right. If it isn't, I would look other placements. But if it's in your 10th house, then of course the 10th house is the career aspect of our chart. So also super important if you want to build sustainable generational wealth. And also, if you're a man, I forgot to mention, Jupiter is a planet that you want to look up to. So a lot of business owners work with Jupiter because it's the planet of abundance, expansion, but it's a more, I would say, masculine planet because, for example, for women, if she's, she wants to see what type of man would be her ideal husband, she would have to look at her Jupiter placement. And for men, it's Venus, right? For their wife. Or just masculine and feminine energies. So yeah, this is basically all the placement that you can look for your unique wealth signature. And of course, you have to go way deeper. This is just like the basic of it, but I feel like it's also super important to know the basics when we work with our own birth chart. But of course, we don't have to know everything. A lot of people take like 20, 30 years to study astrology, so it's not something that comes overnight. But of course, you can also ask questions to ChatGPT and ask, for example, what would be the most attractive aesthetic on my social media if I have this placement of Venus, so the sign and the house. So once again, you can start to play with ChatGPT and ask all these questions, and you're going to get very specific answer. You can ask for a 30-day plan. You can ask for bullet points. So yeah, it's super fun to play with that because you can get really deep into your life purpose. You can also do that for your relationships as well, with the Venus and Jupiter energy as well. So yeah, it's super fun. So let me know if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions as well on how we can work with AI and astrology as well. If you want me to go deeper into a specific topic, just let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow for our next episode.